Hello everybody, my name is James and I've been doing amateur astronomy for 2 years, and I'm here to give a few tips on how to get into the hobby and my ideas on how to really enjoy yourself when you're just starting off. Okay, one of the first things that I recommend you do is not buy an expensive telescope or an expensive pair of binoculars right off the bat. I recommend that you scan the night sky and get to know the constellations as your very first step in understanding astronomy. The best thing to do is to go out as often as you can, every night if possible, go to a dark spot and look up into the sky and see what patterns or figures you can make of the star formations that are there. The first thing I recommend you get, if you're into studying astronomy or just, as a hobby, one of the first things that I recommend you buy is a planisphere. And you can get a great planisphere for around maybe under $11 American. This one is the Night Sky series of planispheres, and it's an excellent tool in understanding the constellations. And that's kind of your first step, that's my suggestion, to be your first step before getting any equipment to discover whether you're really into the hobby or not. The planisphere will show the date as well as the time of day, as well as the constellations, which are marked out quite clearly on it, and it also has instructions at the back on how to use the device. And this is very cheap, so it's a very cheap way to start getting into the hobby, rather than buying a piece of equipment and discovering you don't like the equipment, or you don't like astronomy and you don't want to continue. So I recommend first the planisphere as your first purchase. Okay, so the way I learned about astronomy is that I went out practically every night for 2 years and I studied the constellations. And when you understand the patterns in the sky, and when you begin to see the constellations clearly, you get a good map of the entire sky as you're able to see it. And as you can tell, it's a very overcast day where I am here. It's the 2nd of November and it's about to rain probably within 15 to half an hour. Yeah, it's a rainy spot to do astronomy, but I still manage to do it often. So yeah, I recommend the planisphere as your first purchase. And your second purchase, a pair of binoculars, used binoculars, if you want to go the cheap route. If you know anybody with a pair of binoculars, I used a pair of 8x40s, 8 being the magnification, 40 being the aperture, to allow in light to see some structures on the planets, but not very much. With 8x40s you can't see very much detail. You can just make out, with my old pair of binoculars, I was able to make out cell-like structures within the planets, just cells of light and no fine detail. And they were birding binoculars, not meant for astronomy. But now they sell a whole variety of different sizes of binoculars with different magnifications and different apertures that may be well suited for just beginning with the hobby. So some of the brands, Celestron SkyMaster, that's one brand. There's other brands, but Celestron is a respected brand for astronomy binoculars, and there's been some awards given to them for their recent binoculars. You might want to use a tripod when handling astronomy binoculars because they can be very large, to allow in enough light to be able to see your celestial objects in detail. So yeah, I recommend the binoculars being the second thing. And so if you head out for several months and you're able to see the dark sky and to observe the constellations, you might discover whether you're into the hobby or whether you're not. In that case, you haven't spent much money, so it's a good thing. Another thing that'll help with astronomy, good astronomy books will help. And I recommend books by Terence, Dickenson, and Firefly Press. Now this is a guidebook to the universe and astronomy. It's called The Universe and Beyond. I don't know if you guys can see that backwards or forwards. It appears backwards on my screen, and this is my first video blog, so I don't know. But anyway, I'll have some fun and turn the book around. But it's called The Universe and Beyond by Firefly Press, and it was released in, let's see, 2010, so it's a fairly recent publication. It's a very beautiful book. It has